Hello, today I'm going to be teaching you how to crochet into the third loop only, and I'll be teaching you how to do that both for the rounds and for the rows. Before we begin, I'll show you a couple of things you can do with this stitch. I use this stitch all the time. It's one of my favorite stitches. I love to use it for my amigurumi. I like to use it for the clothing, as you can see on the cuffs and on the bottom here. I like to do that to separate the clothes from the body so it really looks like your amigurumi is wearing their clothing. I also love to use this stitch for apparel. I like to do it just to add a little bit of extra texture to give my apparel something extra. So I will begin by showing you how to do this in the round because that's the way I use it the most often, like I said, for my amigurumi. Now, a lot of crocheters don't like to work in the third loop, and I honestly don't know why. I'm not sure if they think it's difficult, if it's a pain to see. It's just not something they prefer to do, but I use it all the time. So if you're going to be using my patterns, this is a must-know stitch. As you can see, when you make a half double crochet, you get the V's on top, just like your single crochet, and then you have this extra loop in the back. Here, they're kind of exaggerated to help you see them. You have your V, and then you turn your work, and then you can see that extra loop, and that's the loop you're working into. That's the third loop. When you work into this stitch, this loop, you get this beautiful ribbing type pattern, this braided pattern. This has been very popular recently for hats, especially those messy bun style hats to give it sort of a knit look. That's another name for this stitch is the knit stitch, but sometimes also called the knit stitch is when you make work in the rounds and you get that V looking stitch like the stockinette knit stitch. So sometimes you'll see both of those stitches, this one and that one, referred to as the knit stitch. So here we have our V's, and then we turn our work and we work into this third loop. You don't have to double crochet into your third loop. Your pattern may tell you to single crochet or double crochet into that loop. I think I might have misspoken. You don't have to half double. But you're really going to have the best effect working into the third loop with your half double crochet. It can be done with a double crochet, but you're not going to get the same braided pattern. It's not going to be the same thing. It's really used when you're working into a half double crochet stitch. Your V, and then into that third loop into the back there. When working in the rows, it's a little bit different. As you can see, we have our V, and you turn our work, and this is our third loop. So this is the front of our work. So to work into the third loop for the rows, when you want your braid to be in the front, you're actually working into this, what looks like the front loop. See, if we were in rows, you'd look at the V's and see that this is the third loop. Since it's rows, the third loop is appearing to be in the front. So you'll go from bottom up into this third loop and make your stitches all the way across. Here's the V, and here's our third loop. In the end of your rows, you can work into your third loop, but then your ends might look like this. So I will frequently make a regular half double crochet stitch into my end to add some stability to my work. Now, when you get to the front side, if you were to look at it like it was in the round, you would think that this is your third loop. You would think this here is your third loop, but it's not. That's actually your back loop. So when you turn your work, the third loop is still in the front if you are working in rows. I showed you below, right down here, what it looks like if you work into the back loop, and I'll show you right now. If you work into the back loop, thinking that it's your third loop, which is an easy mistake to make as a beginner with this stitch, you do not get that lovely braid. It does add a little bit of texture, which can be nice. I've used it just for a little bit of texture, but remember that this is actually your back loop only. This is not your third loop. See, you're not getting the same nice defined braid here as you get here. Something you can do When you're working correctly and making your third loop only stitch on both sides, the front and the back, is you get this nice ribbing pattern. This is great for hats, it's great for sweaters. Anytime you need a ribbing, it's a nice option. It's not quite as bulky as when you do your ribbing with front and back post crochets. So to do this, you're just working into your third loop, which is this front loop, and you do it on both the back side and the front side of your work, and it will produce this neat, stretchy ribbing, low profile ribbing piece. This is something I see a lot with hats in particular, more so than sweaters, but I think it could be very nice on like the as the ribbing on the bottom of a cardigan, something lower profile. So when we turn our work, and this is the front, I mean really it's the same on both sides, but we'll call this the front. Remember, we're still working into this third loop, which is the front of your work, not into our back loop, but the front loop, and this will produce this really nice ribbing. So there you have it. That is how you work into the third loop only, whether you're working in the rows or in the rounds. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me or reach out to me on social media, all of which information will be provided in the description of this video.